Crawl Spacers, welcome to our first Spider History of 2026. You guys have been asking for this, and guess what? The man, the myth, the legend, JR is back. What's going on, JR? You're extra green tonight.
What? What am I doing?
You are
I'm not
you're
used
doing
to
a
this.
show called Spider History. We've not done it in about a month, sir.
Wait. What is spider history? I've kind of forgotten. And I don't know if it's just senility. Although that is a problem right now.
Yes. So welcome back. Let's choose the elephant in the room. Why? Talk about life happened, right? Why we didn't have one in 2025. Talk about that a little bit, because fans will want to know. The fans want to know.
Well, 2025 was one of the most challenging years of my life, personally and professionally. Not really comfortable talking about this.
No problem. I mean, that's enough. I mean, life happens, right?
Yeah.
So,
my wife has cancer, well, but it's not, we're getting it taken care of. We're taking care of it. It just fucks things up.
Wow. 2 minutes in, we have an F-bomb out of JR. My God.
Yeah,
okay. Well, if anything deserves
we're fine.
If anything deserves an F-bomb, it's cancer. So yes,
it's we're fine. It's just we're working through it, and then the job got a lot harder last year, and I just kept turning Brad down because I just didn't have it.
No doubt. JR was like a girl in college, just kept turning me down. So I understand JR. It's all good.
But but hey, things are a little more stable now.
Nice.
We've been through surgery, and so far we have a pretty decent prognosis. It's in the liver,
Awesome.
But it was it was apparently controllable. It's just one of those things, but for example, if I get summoned upstairs to take care of some needs, I'm going to have to go.
So we totally get it.
For all you guys who are married, when you say "till death do you part,"
also sickness and health,
yeah, folks, you better mean it. And if you don't mean it, then don't do it. Amen. That's all I'm going to say on that. We're done. Now we get to talk about Spider-Man.
Now we're going to give JR some fun because he gets to talk about Spider-Man. So,
which I actually have been looking forward to. I have missed this, and it's just but I like to prepare regardless of what George Barrowman thinks. That I just wing it all the time.
JR, I'm going to tell you something right now. I haven't seen this many people online at once. We have 50 people watching. That is a lot of pressure, sir.
Oh my God!
And we just started 3 minutes ago. 3 minutes. They missed your ass.
My heart. My heart.
Oh God! 3 minutes in, we killed the old man.
Oh my God.
All right, let's see what the chat has to say. We got Sarah. Hi, Sarah. Mr. Comics is watching the Bronco Bills overtime, and I need some funny. All right, he's been assigned to bring the funny every episode. He's got about a 20% success rate, but we'll see. Gary says it's good to be back with JR, not Brad. Okay. Spidey and me, there's Bruce. What's going on, Brad and JR? He says. And Citro says JR rocks, Brad doesn't. Okay. Bruce is praying for your wife. That's very nice, Bruce.
Thank you.
Thank God it's treatable. So sorry to hear that, JR. JR family comes first even when we crave Spider History. Mary says, sorry, JR. Hope for a safe recovery for your wife. Go ahead, JR.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. And, folks, I mean, this is why, in a way, Brad, you and I have had people tell us how the show, this Crawl Space podcast and everything, it helps people get through some things, and that's, this is why we do it. This is why we, for ourselves and others, we may be old men, but this gives us and other people, well, but this, you know,
yourself.
But you know what?
Double dumbass on you, Kirk.
This is what we enjoy. This is what we enjoy doing, and you know what? We're going to do it. You know,
Absolutely.
for our mental health and everybody else's.
Amen. We got Carl says prayers for you. Good luck. May God bless. Glad Spider History is back. Always brings the funny, says Mary. So it's debatable, Mary, but
well, we're going to go through so many
Mary.
issues that we're going to go through so many issues. I don't know how many jokes there really are. We don't have too many pauses. You know, I'm under a lot of pressure with all this.
Okay, so this episode is what if Spider-Man joined the Fantastic Four? So the next 3 episodes of Spider History are all what if, generally stories. JR has been itching to do this. This one we actually were talking about doing it last summer when the FF movie came out. But life happens. But this one we've got. I'll go over the issue numbers. We got what if from 1977 issue 1. What if he joined the FF? Issue 21. What if the Invisible Girl of Fantastic Four married the Submariner? That's my only question on that one, JR. Why that issue?
Well, that's what the show is for.
All right. Then we have.
It's not enough that you like spoil endings for me. It's not enough that you spoil jokes by stealing them from me.
Sorry to question. Why does JR need a starship? Then we go.
That's why we're doing the show, so you can find out. Actually,
I know. We will find out why Spider-Man isn't in the title of that. We'll find out. Then we go to the volume 2 of What If from 1989. What if the Fantastic Five fought Dr. Doom and Annihilus? Then Wolverine, the volume 1 from 1988, issue 148, which has a little bit of the new Fantastic Four, which is like Ghost Rider and Wolverine and Hulk, or Joe Fixit. And then we do what if second volume number 78, what if the new Fantastic Four had remained a team? And then what if the newer Fantastic Four, they didn't even give it a title. It's from 2008. So those are all the what ifs. And we're going to start with this book right here. There you go, JR. There's our new layout. You like it?
Yes, I do.
It's more of us. And the book fits right in the little corner. So there
I was about to say, people may want more of the book than us after a while.
Okay, if that's the case, we do that. I'm just kidding.
All right. Hey, fine. Then you have to talk to these people for 3 hours, huh? You have to entertain the fans for 3 hours. So, but anyway, speaking of the fans, this series is because you demanded it. You all wanted to go through some what ifs, and so. You know, briefly, I'll try to go through the method of my madness. You know, I kind of selected stories around themes, and some I picked just because I like. Some I picked because I thought they were good stories. Some I picked because they just were goofy. But
absolutely,
you know, so and there's going to be a lot missing. I mean, there's a lot of. Not only what ifs, but alternate universe stories. And I know someone's going to be thinking, hey, JR, what about that issue where Spider-Man, blah, 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 blah. Okay, well, you know, if we do this in 2027, maybe. But anyway, I wanted to do the Fantastic Four because, like I said, Brad and I were we were going to do this around the time the movie came out. So, you know, so I'm going to go ahead and do this. But anyway, let's start off the bat with the granddaddy of them all. What if number 1 that came out in
77.
February 1977 issue, which I bought in the back issue bin for a princely sum of $5 at the Book Broker in Evansville, Indiana, where I got a lot of my treats over the years until I relocated. This basically. We lose a little bit here as the watcher spends about 3 pages wasting people's time by explaining to sci-fi fans how parallel universes work. I was about to say, you know, but anyway, this story goes back all the way to Amazing Spider-Man number 1. Now, the first volume of What If, I'm going to be a little scatterbrained here, like always. The first volume of What If was the best volume overall because. In my opinion, because one, the stories started out going back to the classic stories. They went back to origin stories. They went back to key moments in Marvel history. And the double-size format allowed the stories to kind of breathe, to play out, and because a good what if story sets up a premise, what if life had turned out this way? And then it shows you the consequences of whatever happened with the decisions that were made. A bad what if story, which there are plenty of them, are just an excuse for somebody to kill off characters and, be sadistic about it and just, oh, what if this happens? Fan fiction of the worst sort. So that's kind of but this, in my opinion,
and this was a double. Oh, sorry. This was a double size. This was 50 cents back in 77 when the regular books were 35, I think, or 30.
Yeah. And the first volume lasted for 47 issues, I believe. And then it was retired. And then volume 2 came out, volume 2, which we'll discuss more, more in the next
We've
episode.
got one
next month.
We've got 2 issues in this episode. We've got What If number 35 and 78 from volume 2. So those are Fantastic Four.
That's right. See, Brad's keeping me on track. He gave me a list and he said, JR, I know you're scatterbrained and senile, so I'm going to give you a list and you follow this list. So,
let's see if you can bake with this recipe.
This is like Brad pinning a note on me if I get lost. So that somebody, if you see this old man wandering around, please return to.
Well, someone, I had to figure it out because I'm covering the images. By the way, this is through Marvel Unlimited what we're going. All JR did was pull from his long box and goes, here's 3 pictures. Go for it, baby.
Well, I'm just minding my own business. It's a tough week at work. Brad says, hey, you want to do Spider History? And I said, well, you know what? I turned Brad down all last year, and, and sometimes it's like they say, it's time to, blank or get off the pot. So I decided to but then Brad wants, what are you going to look at? What order? What month? Dude, it's like, I was just going to make it up as I go. No. Well, I have to have absolutes. I have to have facts. I have to have issues. I have to have covers, and so
because how do you think we got 50 people watching us? Because I put out, I went all over the internet. JR's back. JR's back. Guess who's back? JR's back. Call a friend.
Yeah. Why do you think I've lost so much hair? I pulled out all my hair this week trying to do this. So anyway.
All right.
We're
13 minutes in. Get through the issue.
All right, we'll just go right into it. But basically, as all good Spider-Man fans know, in one of the key moments in Amazing Spider-Man #1, and probably the event that helped solidify the fact, in my opinion, again, this is all my opinion because this is my part of the show. The fact that the Marvel universe was going to be one universe, one connective universe with overlap. And that is when Amazing Spider-Man 1, because you remember the Fantastic Four, I think they were the first. I think they've been out about a year. The Hulk was second, but his first run actually only lasted 6 issues before it was canceled. Which, I don't know, all good comic fans know that, but that was something that I don't think a lot of people know. And then like the Hulk was revived later in one of those, there were several of them, and eventually got his own title back and he took over the numbering of that. I don't know if it was Tales to Astonish or something, but anyway. So
Tales to Astonish 102 is when he got his comic book back.
Yeah. I should remember that because my brother had him on. My brother was a huge Hulk fan.
Yep.
And, so anyway, so really this is the first time that superheroes, and I don't think Ant-Man had shown up. Ant-Man existed during this time, but I don't think he showed up in Fantastic Four. Now, Namor appeared in other things, but Namor I've always considered indigenous to the Fantastic Four. So Spidey going into the Baxter Building, that is the first meeting of Marvel superheroes, and now we know that the Marvel universe is connected. Well, as you know, Uncle Ben is dead. Spider-Man is desperate for money. He can't cash a check in the name of Spider-Man, and he doesn't have a job. He hasn't gone to the Daily Bugle yet and thrown himself on the mercies of J. Jonah Jameson. So he figures, hey, why don't I just join the Fantastic Four? They'll be lucky. They'll be glad to have me, and they'll pay me top dollar. Well, Spider-Man kind of overplays his hand, misjudges the situation entirely, and kind of acts like an asshat the whole time. And basically the Fantastic Four say, nuts. And Reed says, we don't pay salaries. We're a nonprofit organization. Everything we make goes into scientific research. And Spider-Man says, well, screw you guys. And he leaves and he says, I'm going to make you all look like pikers, which a piker is someone who makes small gambles and insignificant bets. So he's going to make them feel small. He's going to show them. And that's how it ends in our universe. But then something happens. Sue Storm says, wait, come back. And something, Spider-Man listens and he says, well, when a good-looking woman tells me to come back, hey.
Especially a blonde. He likes blondes.
And
in the 70s, especially.
Yeah. And, it's like, and now the rest of the four aren't too thrilled with it, particularly Ben and Johnny. But, Sue, being the diplomat, basically, who helps these guys all keep their heads on straight, says, no, let's just talk to him. Let's just hear him out. Let's see what he wants. And, and then the more Reed thinks about it, the more Reed says, yeah, you know what? He's a strong dude. He's got a special, just like Liam Neeson, he's got a special set of skills. And, maybe we could use him. And besides, maybe I should, loosen up the purse strings and give you all a little bit more money, and Spider-Man says, yeah, I just need enough. I don't need a lot, just enough to get by on. And, Spider-Man humbles himself, and Reed says, well, okay, you're in, but you got to tell us who you are. And this was a cool moment because in 1977, you'd never seen I don't believe we had seen Spider-Man reveal his identity to anybody. I mean, at this point in time, the only people who ever knew that he was Spider-Man, Mary Jane knew, but we didn't know that Mary Jane knew. Yeah. Obviously, both Green Goblins at that time knew.
You had George Stacy.
George Stacy, yes. How could I forget? Since we talk about George later on, George Stacy found out. But by this time, Peter had never really willingly unmasked himself. So this is the first time I recall Peter unmasking himself, and it was like, ooh, this is real. Yeah. This is a serious moment. This is happening. And so Spider-Man becomes a member of the Fantastic Four, which after a press conference announced that they are now the Fantastic Five. Of course, J. Jonah Jameson isn't too fond of this, but when Mr. Fantastic vouches for you, even Jonah decides to play along. Of course, making it all about Jonah. So it goes well at first. Spider-Man helps them with their evil space aliens, and the Fantastic Four, the rest of them help out with his street criminals, and even skeptic Ben and Johnny are kind of coming around to the idea. So it's working. But then the first crack appears. You knew this wasn't going to be a happy story. It turns out that about this time, their Fantastic Four is getting ready to go to the moon. Reed has built a rocket ship, and he's going to go to the moon. And of course they're going to fight the Red Ghost, blah, blah, blah. But here's the thing. So they're going to, and Spider-Man says, so America is going to win the space race. Remember, folks, this is only 8 years after the moon landing, and this story was in the mid-early 60s. And if you remember the classic issue, Fantastic Four #1, when Ben Grimm is telling Reed he's nuts for wanting to go into space, Sue says, Ben, do you want the commies to beat us into space? Cold War references. You got to love it. Yeah. A lot of you all weren't here for the Cold War. I know some of you are. I know Bruce was, but interesting times. But anyway, so they're going to go to the moon. There's only one problem. The rocket only seats 4, not 5. Now, it's like, hey, Spider-Man kind of joining, when you build a rocket, and you only got, so much time and resources, and they got to take their moment. So, Sue, because you're the girl for no other reason.
Jeez. They make her stay home just like in Secret Wars, huh?
Yeah, he doesn't say it, but he doesn't have to. And, this is pretty typical Reed. He doesn't want to put her in jeopardy if he doesn't need to. So they take off to the moon without her. And they're going to regret that. Well, because as we know, Sue is always kind of you know,
Mm-hmm.
oh,
She
he's
gonna swim.
kinda,
She gonna swim with the fishes. You know what I'm saying?
well, she kind of likes, she spends a lot of time watching classic Star Trek. So, a guy with pointed ears and dark hair,
It's only
kind of
logical.
gets to her, which oddly enough, I mean, apparently there truly never was any connection. People have asked, I think, whether or not Star Trek ripped off the Submariner's look, and there's no evidence that it did. He did, because Marvel obviously never sued. Of course, they weren't as suit happy as they are with Disney owning them, but also because Spock's look evolved. I mean, if you recall, Star Trek fans know that Spock was originally supposed to be red, and he was supposed to have a tail, and he was supposed to ingest food through his stomach. So he's supposed to be completely alien. Now, then they figured that well, we don't have the budget for that kind of thing, and it'll make him so weird people won't relate to him. So let's just give him some pointed ears and yellow skin, and we'll go with that. But anyway, but Namor, is being controlled, because if you recall, Fantastic Four fans, the Puppet Master, is puppeting him, and he's got control of Namor, and so he's going to sick Namor and the Fantastic Four against each other, or the Fantastic Five against each other. They'll destroy each other, and the Puppet Master will emerge triumphant. So he takes control of Namor's mind. Namor kidnaps Sue, takes her down to his undersea lair, and when the Fantastic Four gets back, it's like, uh-oh, this house is a mess. The toilets haven't been cleaned. The kitchen's dirty. There's food. What the heck just happened here? And of course, well, their built-in maid is gone, and Namor appears in a hologram and says, "Oh, I've got Sue. Guess what I'm doing? Oh, by the way, do you want to know where? I know where that tattoo is, Reed." And so really, so then they start, naturally they start doing the typical fighting, but it's pretty apparent Namor is acting kind of. Well, he's not really himself. And they figure that out pretty quickly. They figure that out and figure out that it is the Puppet Master, even though they don't see the Puppet Master. And after some fisticuffs and things and everything, typical comic book, the Puppet Master is, the Puppet Master gets eaten by a giant octopus.
Let me find that panel. Let's see where that is.
Yeah, because originally, Namor was holding Sue, captive in this bubble, and the octopus was there, and it was like, if you don't do what I say, I'm going to let this octopus kill Sue. And Reed starts saying, now wait a minute. Namor is an asshat, but he would never hurt Sue. Something's wrong here. So that's when they kind of figure it out. So they defeat the Puppet Master, but Reed figures this is as good a time as any to settle some old scores. So he and Namor are going to go mano a mano for the love of their lives. But before the first rubber glove rubber punch can be thrown, Sue steps in and says, "Now, you guys aren't going to decide this. I'm going to decide this. And Reed, since you've proven you don't need me, and and Namor clearly wants me more than you do. I mean, hey, it's like, when you think about it, of course, Reed is the hero and Namor is an asshat, but Reed is, I mean, to be honest, he's pretty detached. He loves Sue, but he doesn't show it near enough. And here's this pointy-eared guy who is more than happy to shower her with affection. And
now look at this. Reed is logical without pointed ears, and Namor with pointed ears is not logical. Do you see the never mind. Okay. I just think that was funny. He's detached. He's unemotional, which is what Spock usually is.
Reed looks pretty emotional there in that one picture, and Subby looks a little bit vacant. But anyway, but I get your point.
Yeah.
But so anyway,
Sue goes off with Submariner.
Oh, by the way, this is what Reed looks like. He doesn't look like Pedro Pascal. My God. Anyway, so Sue, Namor zaps Sue, and she becomes a water breather, and she decides to stay with Namor. And Reed rationalizes it to himself that, well, maybe Sue will be Namor's conscience. and maybe the tensions will ease between Atlantis and the surface world. Maybe it'll work out as he tries to rationalize. So Spider-Man's feeling guilty, thinking, oh man, if I hadn't joined, Sue'd have gone with you. She wouldn't have been PO'd at Reed. She'd have stayed with him. Namor wouldn't. It's all my fault. And Johnny says, hey, you know what? It happened. Probably even if you hadn't joined, everything probably would have been the same. The end.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunately, unfortunately, as we know, that isn't quite how it happened in our universe.
Right.
This
so I guess you're the Fantastic Four again.
Yeah,
Sue leaves.
Yeah, this is what I consider. But I kind of look. I'm kind of going to go through some of these issues. Like if you're looking to fill your collection, I think this is a must-have. It's not the best story, and it really doesn't make use of Spider-Man as a member of the Fantastic Four. It's like he joins, and then the story happens, and we don't really, see what Spider-Man as a member of the team means. But again, it's a classic story based off a classic story. It's the first What If, and actually, unless you try to get it slabbed, I think my Overstreet said like Overstreet 9.2 or whatever says $100. So honestly, most of these What Ifs, I mean, it's a lot cheap. Really, it's a lot cheaper if you don't want to go the 9.0 route, because I know my copy's not 9.0 because it's far from perfect. And actually, most of the first volume of What Ifs are cheap. I guess the 70s, they printed more copies of comics then than they do today. So really, as the late great Sam Ruby once said, there's really no such thing as a rare Spider-Man comic, maybe except for the earliest ones.
And that one was written by Roy Thomas.
That one was written by Roy Thomas long before he decided to try to steal food from the mouth of Len Wein's widow.
Okay. Okay, so let's go to the next issue.
Right, the next one. The next one I picked, Spider-Man actually does show up in the story in the beginning.
Okay.
But I picked this story because I just thought it was a good story. This was the first time a sequel had been done to a What If story. And this is a very logical progression of what might have happened. So we do, again, so in this second story, we do see the consequences of what happens when Spider-Man joins the team. And it's not good because
he's not even on the cover.
Well, no, he's not even on cover. He is on the first few pages. I mean, first of all, we see the Fantastic Four, and they're clearly the Fantastic Four because they got fours on them, and it's Reed, Ben, and Johnny, and they're going after the Super Skrull. And after, a little fisticuffs for a couple issues, the Super Skrull says, hey, where's the fourth member? And swoop from the sky comes Spider-Man. And he blocks the Super Skrull and in this super webbing that Reed has helped him whip up. And the day is saved. But unfortunately, there has been some simmering ill will and resentment between Spider-Man, Johnny, and Reed. Both of them are bitter about Sue leaving. They have to have somebody to blame. They obviously can't blame Sue. Reed doesn't have the balls to blame himself, which really it is his fault. And Ben makes that point clear later. Ben tries to be the peacemaker and says, no, you are riding him really hard, Reed. Basically, you got to stop this. But, it's been, Spider-Man has been second guessed long enough. He's had his butt rode long enough. And he says, I'm done. I quit. And then you can call yourselves. And Ben says, well, we got to call ourselves a Fantastic Three now. So Spider-Man quits. The rest of the story, though, is which I think this is a good story. So Namor, Sue is very, very pregnant with their child.
Oh, no, really?
Very
Jeez.
pregnant. Very pregnant.
Oh, Namor.
Yeah, she wants him to make peace with Reed and Johnny, and before the baby's born, she says, look, I don't want any hard feelings. We're going to have a child. This is going to be a great, happy moment for us. I want to share it with my family. And his Namor goes, all right, so,
The little lady says, you got to do. Yeah, go ahead, Namor.
Sue's got Namor wrapped around her little finger, which, hey, that's one reason why she went with him. So
he's swimming around her little finger, yeah.
So Namor decides to make peace, but Johnny, because Ben has stormed out. Ben basically said, Reed, stop this whining and crying. I'm tired of it. Take responsibility for it happened. It's done. But Reed wants to start a fight. And before he decides to dismantle his best friend, rubber band by rubber band, leaves. So it just leaves Reed and Johnny, who aren't in any mood to listen to the Submariner's offer gestures of peace. And so when Submariner leaves, he says, fine, I came here in peace, but if you're looking for a fight, I'm more than willing to give it to you. Now, Reed gets this idea that he takes a surveillance video, alters it, and takes it to the UN and makes it seem that Namor is actively threatening war. So Reed says, we got to strike first. And of course the UN is ready to, let's get those fish people, but Ben comes in and says, no, I got the real surveillance tape. This is all no. Now Reed is humiliated and essentially asked to leave. Ben is not happy. I mean, he doesn't feel good. He stabbed his best friend in the back, he said, but it's better. He said, it's better than starting a war that nobody wants or needs. But Johnny says, screw him and screw the UN and screw everybody else. Why don't you and I just get Sue back?
Let's go get him.
The rest of the story is them invading Atlantis. And basically what Reed's plan, which actually is a really diabolical, and this is one reason I like the story, because Reed Richards is a dangerous man. Reed Richards is, and this is one reason I like the story, is because I guess until Moon Girl showed up again, Reed was the smartest man in the Marvel, or smartest person in the Marvel universe, and probably the most dangerous. And this issue,
that's one of the reasons people like The Maker, because it's an evil version of Reed Richards.
Yeah.
For the Ultimate Universe.
But the fun of Reed is knowing he doesn't cross that line, but he could. Once he crosses that line, then he becomes another supervillain. But anyway, that's my gripes with the Ultimate Universe. That's beside this. But Reed, he's not going to kill anybody. He's introducing something into the water, which is going to turn the Atlanteans into air breathers. It'll drive them out of the water, and they'll become surface dwellers, and they'll integrate in with humanity and be assimilated. So he's not going to kill anybody, but he's going to completely destroy Namor's culture. He's going to take his kingdom right out from under him. Namor's going to have to watch it happen, and he's going to have to watch his culture essentially be obliterated. That's pretty diabolical crap. But but the problem is Sue is in a pretty delicate situation. And Lady Dorma, who was Namor's former squeeze, says, if you do this, you will probably kill Sue. Reed realizes the gravity of what he's done, and he stops what he's doing. The Torch, on the other hand, is not happy and leaves and threatens to rain fire down on Atlantis. And Reed realizes that he has to accept the events as they've happened, and he's going to dedicate himself to try to keep the peace between Atlantis and the surface world. Which, again, I think this is a better story than other stories where Reed goes crazy and destroys the world and kills, which happens in some other what ifs. In fact, we referenced one in the next story. But anyway, it shows that, the Submariner doesn't fear anybody. But I think the Submariner fears Reed Richards. If there's any one person he's afraid of, it's Reed Richards. He's not named Mr. Fantastic for nothing. Now, again, Spider-Man fans, I got this in the bargain bin. I thought it was a good story. I stole it, then I bought it. So, again, it's like, I think this is like, I forget who wrote this.
Bill Mantlo. I just looked at
Bill Mantlo. Thank you. Bill Mantlo, who was a pretty good writer in his day.
And Gene Colan on pencils isn't shabby either.
Nope. Who's the pencil?
Gene Colan.
Oh my heavens. Yes. So, again, we got top tier talent working on these early stories. These are not throwaway into the dustbin. They're solid, and Marvel committed itself to this. Unfortunately, that wasn't always the case. The next story is a perfect case of What If being used as a lazy cash grab. This is volume 2. What If the Fantastic Five fought Doctor Doom and Annihilus? Now, we don't know this at first, but then we do find out this is a direct sequel to What If number 21. Unfortunately, what has happened in the interim, this basically retells Fantastic Four Annual number 6, The Birth of Franklin, where because of the cosmic rays that irradiated all of them and irradiated Sue, she and the baby may both die unless they go to the negative zone and find the Enterprise's warp engines and get Scotty to give them some antimatter, because he's going for antimatter. So that's what he's going for. So I guess
so. This is written by Roy Thomas also.
Yeah, well, yeah.
So yeah. Again, so he has another writer down there, RJM Loficer. I don't know who that is, but
I don't know. Did Thomas write? Out of curiosity, did he write the original Annual number 6 Fantastic Four, or did Stan write it? Because
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I wonder because if Roy Thomas is getting the credit because because he wrote the original one, and it follows his plot pretty closely.
Maybe.
What has already happened? Apparently, Sue has left Namor. We don't know why. She's got back with Reed. We don't know why. She's pregnant with Franklin. Well, we know how that happened. Spider-Man, all the old wounds are healed. Spider-Man comes back. Ben comes back. Johnny's, everybody's there. They're one big happy family. And it's like the past never happened. So really, this story was like part of an event called Timequake, where you have these dastardly cosmic beings. I forget, they're called the Timekeepers, I think. Again, dastardly cosmic beings are a dime a dozen. They want to stop the birth of Franklin Richards in this universe because he's going to be a Nexus being, and if he lives, they'll destroy. They'll be destroyed. And if Franklin and Sue die, Reed will go mad and destroy the world in a nuclear holocaust. Okay, so really the story then, the other four go into the negative zone. Spider-Man steals the cosmic phallic symbol that's hanging around Annihilus's neck.
Okay.
Or actually it's
there it is.
It's the cosmic vibrator. He takes it.
No, stop it.
No. Go. Keep going. Keep going. Spider-Man shows Reed that he's got it.
Oh, Jesus.
There we go. Reed, I got the cosmic vibrator.
Okay.
Reed,
all
take
right.
this to Sue. This will solve all your problems. Trust.
Earmuffs, little kids listening. Oh my gosh. Okay. Anyway, Dr. Doom is not laughing at your joke.
Well, see, here's the thing. Of course, so the Watcher is there, and the Watcher saying, "Ha, timekeepers! You were full. They got you. Everything's going to turn out fine." Well, the timekeepers are going to play their next ace, which is Dr. Doom, and so they're going to bring Dr. Doom into the, Doc, you don't want Reed Richards to have this magic vibrator, do you? And the Doc says, "No, I certainly don't. Anybody but Reed Richards. Particularly I know how he's going to use it." And Doom goes in to steal the cosmic control rod. I mean, come on. Cosmic vibrator is better than cosmic control rod.
Just call it the CV. Call it the CV.
But then another mystical being shows up, calling himself the Whisperer, and he tells Doom, he says, "Hey, Doom, you really don't want to do this, do you? Really, you're being played by a bunch of other guys." And hang on a second. Okay. And if you take this cosmic device and you don't let Reed save Sue and the baby, Reed's going to go crazy and he's going to blow up, destroy the world. And Doom says, "Well, there's really, if Reed destroys the world, then what planet am I going to rule? I got no planet to take over then." Well, oh hell, so he gives up the thing, and it,
oh no, poor Doom.
Yeah. Well, Doom survives, I'm sure. But
Yeah.
then, everything turns out happy. This is a story. This is what I consider for collectors only. You know, if you want it, if you want to complete your collection, but it's an example of a bad what if story because I mean, they're all cash grabs. Everything's a cash grab. I mean, art and commerce are so completely intertwined. But this is a story. There's no consequences. We don't end up in a different place that we were in our regular universe, other than Spidey's in the Fantastic Five. So this is an example of a cheap story that, like I said, get it if you have to complete your collection.
All
right.
We're going to Wolverine on this one.
Where are we going? Let me see. Were we going to do
Wolverine 148?
Wolverine first. Okay. All right,
so
folks.
Let me click on Wolverine.
Brad was a little bit. Brad and I had slightly different order that we were going to do this in, but since Brad he did some work in getting all the images, I decided not to disrupt the schedule. But as you know, boys and girls, hang on a second.
That's a nice Erik Larsen cover, by the way, of the new Fantastic Four. From
I wasn't too fond of the art in this. I think the art is the weakest part of the story, but as all good.
Well, let's see.
As all good Spidey fans know, Marvel fans know, and Fantastic Four fans know that during I believe oh my Lord, what was his name? It wasn't Byrne, Walt Simonson. Okay.
Yeah.
During the Walt Simonson era, the Lady Super Skrull, lured the Fantastic Four down into Mole Man's subterranean kingdom, and all kinds of shenanigans went on, and she goes to the surface, she transforms into Sue, and she recruits, because she's got her own agenda, so she needs another super team to help her complete her agenda. So she recruits 4 other heroes. She recruits Spider-Man, Wolverine, Hulk, and Ghost Rider, saying, you all kind of knew the Fantastic Four. Now they think she's Sue, and she says, the Mole Man killed all the other Fantastic Four, and I'm all alone, and I need help. And of course, it appeals to the other guy's sense of justice, so they're going to go together, and they're going to kick ass. But of course, as it turns out, everybody's being played, and finally she's defeated. The Mole Man decides he doesn't want to stir up any more trouble than necessary, because the Hulk's down there. Because now and Spider-Man, in a moment with the Mole Man, says, you could attack, but the Hulk will kind of pretty well take care of, ruin your property values down here. Mole Man says, you got a point. So anyway, but this particular story,
this one was written by Erik Larsen and Roger Cruz on art. Who did a lot of X-Men comics back in the 90s, if memory serves.
Now, we're going to go to the other fantastic. This one is different. This one does not follow that story. This one actually follows Age of Apocalypse. So we're going to talk about another Fantastic Four what if, but it's a different universe than this one. And this one, it happens after Age of Apocalypse, where what's his name? X-Man turns into the High Lord. And and everybody thinks that the Fantastic Four and the Avengers and the X-Men die taking on the High Lord. Okay, when really what had happened is Franklin Richards created a pocket universe and licensed out these characters to the Image guys.
Yeah, Franklin did that. Yeah,
Franklin did that. Yeah, Franklin
wrote Rob Liefeld a check and Jim Lee.
But that basically is what, other than Franklin, that is basically what happened. I mean, Marvel had been itching to do a reboot, and they were itching for something, because they were finally feeling the consequences of all their self-inflicted wounds over the last 10 years. No comics company earned their fate more than Marvel. And they were paying the appropriate price. Unfortunately, it nearly took down the industry. So they licensed out the Fantastic Four to the Image guys, who were really hot. I mean, just they were gods then, the Image guys. So they thought, well, we'll get these. So they redid the origins. They made them more current, and it succeeded about as well as you thought it would. So anyway, what This story then happens. This is a few years afterwards. These guys decide to get together again, this time, and be the Fantastic Four, because, right now they're almost all that's left. And there's some interesting world building going on here. This is actually an interesting story, and it's a shame that it was just a one shot, because with most of all the other heroes gone, this Fantastic Four, they really do try to be a team, unlike this other story, which we'll see them. But they know that they're civilization is crumbling. The economy's falling apart, the political system's falling apart, and really they're about one of the few things that's keeping everything from just completely crashing. And it's finally beginning to wear them. It's wearing them down. The story starts off with Blastar. I believe it's Blastar and Annihilus crashing through the negative zone, because basically the Harpy, who is Betty Ross, who is Bruce Banner's wife, Bruce Banner says, well, she's being a real Harpy, so I'm going to do, instead of going through divorce court, I'm going to send her to the negative zone. Which, hey, he's probably, Peter David probably wishes he thought of that idea. Because as I believe Peter David has said this, that he killed Betty Ross because he was in the midst of a bitter divorce, and he was very angry, and he's killed her off. But he said, but I wouldn't have done it if I hadn't intended on bringing her back, but they fired me before I could bring her back. Yeah. So anyway, they were going to throw her into the negative zone until they could find a cure for her. But, Annihilus and Blastar just happened to be trick-or-treating at the doorstep of the Baxter Building. We go into the Baxter Building, and not only we have our Fantastic Four of Peter, they're all wearing Fantastic Four costume. Peter, the Hulk, Wolverine, Ghost Rider. Mary Jane is there with a wall-crawling who, Brad?
A baby. Is it? I don't remember.
Baby, wall-crawling baby May. All right.
Oh, is that Mayday? Mayday Parker.
That is a wall-crawling baby May. So essentially, so anyway, they defeat Blastar and Annihilus and send them all to the negative zone. But, and they kind of split up for a little bit to do their own various things. But the thing is, the whole thing is weighing on all of them. The Hulk is having a difficulty because he doesn't consistently Hulk out into the same Hulk. Sometimes he's Joe Fixit. Sometimes he's the big green rage monster, as Robert Downey Jr. described it. And sometimes he's got Bruce Banner's brain. Sometimes he doesn't. So the Hulk is dealing with a real, true identity crisis. Wolverine and Ghost Rider know they really don't fit in with this. Peter and Bruce kind of fit in. Both of them are scientists. They got things to talk about. The other two, they're Ghost Rider's got the power of hell. Wolverine's has got a bad attitude. So they're dealing with the fact that they feel like outsiders to the group and they don't belong, but they know they have to stay together because they're kind of the last bastion holding humanity together. And, Peter is dealing with this and trying to raise his family. So we've got interesting world building here. We got interesting characters. They all, in this short story, even though this is a short story, they're all developed, really. They all have their own issues. And then what happens is, in this timeline, Robert Kelly, the anti-mutant senator, is actually president of the United States. Right. He gets assassinated, by apparently Dr. Doom. But it's like, wait a minute, didn't Dr. Doom die during the battle with the High Lord or whatever? And of course, what they find out is that it's a rather imperfect clone of Dr. Doom, and the real villain is Arnim Zola. Zola is going to blow them all up. Zola has, lured him here. He captured Ghost Rider. He's lured the rest of them there. He wants to kill the Fantastic Four because they're basically the strongest heroes left. If he gets rid of the Fantastic Four, then there's nobody standing in his way. Well, of course, the Fantastic Four save the day. The White House gets blown up. Then they find out that what's his name? Creed. Now, X-Men fans are going to have to tell me who this guy is.
Is it Victor Creed? Is that Sabretooth?
I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
but it's anyway. Apparently, he's worse than Senator Kelly. So he was vice president. He now becomes president. Wolverine says, "Guys, what do we do now?" And we never. That's the end. That's
Never figured it out, huh? Wow.
This story it was a one shot. It was never followed up on because, again, Marvel with their, and this is the thing with Marvel and their stupid ass events, because every once in a while they stumble onto something really interesting. But, hey, we all got to, doing this and blah, blah, blah issues and do this and blah, 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 blah. This was a good story, good world building, good characterization, and it just is completely abandoned. So,
Right.
Again, folks, if you can find this in the back issue bin, pick it up. It's worth a pickup. The art's not good. The art is definitely a low point.
Mileage may vary. I didn't mind that art. It looks very 90s. So which is when it was published. So anyway, this other one, we have another volume 2. This is the new Fantastic Four had remained a team. So we're going to look at that one.
Yeah, this one was actually, this was October 1995, written by Chuck Dixon, who apparently has fallen out of favor in the comic book industry for various reasons, politics among them. But this was 5 years before the Wolverine story. So this actually came first. This is a true follow-up of that original Fantastic Four story. The Fantastic Four died in the subterranean Mole Man's kingdom. And the four guys, they're at the funeral, and basically guilt just kind of takes over all of them. It's like we were there and we didn't save the day. They all died on our watch. And Ghost Rider's the one who says, we got to fix this. We got to remedy this. We can't, the Fantastic Four was like the first, barrier against extraterrestrial evil, and they're gone, and we were there, and, we have to step up. And so the others reluctantly agree to, and they move into the Baxter building. Of course, Peter takes Mary Jane with him. Mary Jane finds the costumes. And, well, I know what Peter's going to be doing that night.
He's not putting a plastic sack over that one.
No, he's not.
Okay, that was, come on.
Maybe it's time we make Baby May in this universe too.
So you don't need this FF
you don't need
on Mary Jane, do you?
But here's the problem. When you become the Fantastic Four, you inherit the Fantastic Four's problems. And one of their big problems is keeping the Baxter building going and all the bills paid. So basically they start, Peter is kind of, along with Mary Jane, becomes a business manager, but Peter's the one who starts trying to get everything, taken care of. And so they start, leasing out parts of the Baxter building to make money. And, and the thing is, the other heroes are bored. This isn't Johnny Blaze. This is, I think, Danny Ketch, Ghost Rider. He doesn't factor much in this story. It's mostly the other three guys. But the Hulk and Wolverine are really bored with the paperwork. It's like, why do we got to do this? Why do we got to sit around and talk about all this boring crap when we go out kicking ass? And Peter is saying, we got no choice. We got to pay the bills. And he said, hey, but the real Fantastic Four, they got together because they worked it out. They worked the problems out because they were a family. The Hulk says, you mean we got to be a super powered version of the Waltons? Yeah. But actually, surprisingly enough, Peter, the Hulk, of course, laughs his ass off, but the Wolverine actually steps in and says, yeah, you know what? The X-Men, we were a family. We looked out for each other. We took care of each other. We didn't always like each other, but, we stuck together, and that's what we're going to do. Well, we'll find it doesn't last very long because they get the Baxter building gets invaded from two fronts. From the top side comes Lady Killer Shrike and the Abomination, who I think the Hulk refers to as a walking pile of guacamole. And from the southern hemisphere comes I think the Super Skrull and a villain that I do not know who that is.
Here, I'll look. Once we get to the picture, let's see. Okay, so you got an Abomination.
Yeah.
Taking on. This
guy. That guy.
I have no idea who that is. Help us out, chat. Who's that guy next to the Super Skrull that's carrying Mary Jane? Do they ever
So
mention his name in the book? My goodness.
no, I don't think they did. And again,
Okay,
I
grief.
went through this real quickly. I mean, again, because Brad had me under a tight deadline. But so even the Fantastic Four, this Fantastic Four, Hulk gets basically kicked out of the building, and in his absence, the super villains are able to take care of the other three. The Hulk comes back, and by himself, he's really no match for him because he's the Gray Hulk now, and the Gray Hulk isn't as strong or as violent as the Green Hulk. So
is Spider-Man dead up here?
No, none of them are dead. None of them dead. They just got their ass handed to them. They just all
right then.
But the Deus Ex Machina comes in the guise of Doctor Doom, and Doctor Doom incinerates all the other bad guys and says, you know what? Even if a fake Fantastic Four is only going to die at my hands, nobody else. The Fantastic Four is my team to kill, no one else's. Well, so Doom zaps him. He goes on his way, and the guys get together and say, well, this kind of exposed our flaws here. This is a story that could have used more. This definitely could have used more story to show why this arrangement wasn't going to work. Because originally, as the letters page explains, the story was proposed, to Chuck to write them coming together as a family and being a big team, happy family team. And Chuck says, these guys would be the furthest thing from a family. And it's a shame we didn't get enough story to illustrate that. So basically it's like they get beat, they decide to quit. It's kind of an unsatisfactory story in that regard, because there should have been, again, there should have been more to it. They were brought together by a traumatic event. It should have taken them more to get, to quit, but besides getting their hands handed to them. But there is one other good scene in this that I forgot to mention earlier is when they take on the Fantastic Four's villains, they got some of their own old scores to settle. And the Sinister Six decides to show its ugly head and threatens Spider-Man. And Spider-Man says, ooh, you got me. Oh, but if you're going to try to kill me, is it okay if I bring some friends with me? And of course, the Hulk, Wolverine, and Ghost Rider come out of the shadows, and the Sinister Six collectively has to change their pants. Go back a page, Brad.
Okay.
Go back a page. Yeah. That picture at the bottom.
Oh, at the bottom, how scared they look.
It's like, oh boy, they know.
Poor Hawk. Oh hell!
It's like,
can you imagine the Vulture taking on Hulk?
Yeah, these guys know that they are cooked.
Screwed. They're screwed. Oh man,
anyway,
that's funny.
A fun
Boy,
story.
I wish the artwork was better in this thing. Man, this is rough.
Fun story. Again, you could probably get it cheap, but just be known that really it's half a story. It's just half a story, unfortunately, which was one of the weaknesses of the volume 2 What If, is they tried to cram it into a conventional. They had too much story to tell for the amount. All right, the last one we'll try to get through here.
Hey, look, we're doing good on time. You got a good pace going, man. This one is the newest one, I think, is 08.
And this is this is the least satisfactory story of them all. What If newer Fantastic Four, and this was published December of 2008, but it's the February 2009 issue. Well, Iron Man replaces Ghost Rider as part of the Four. Why do you suppose that is? Well,
because Iron Man came out in theaters, probably, right?
Iron Man came out in theaters in 2008 and shook the rafters of the cinema world.
Let's see who wrote this, JR. Who wrote it? Paul Tobin.
Which I don't know who that is. But I think everybody here is old enough to remember when Iron Man hit the screens for the first time. It was a revelation. I mean, it was just it just was, Downey he was perfectly cast. It was a redemption story for him as well as Tony Stark. Tony Stark built the same thing in a cave with a box of scraps.
Jesus.
But, hey, folks, I'm giving you your money's worth. Okay. You've been a year
without. I'm
going to give you your money's worth.
I know.
Okay. But anyway, and then, it was a perfect casting. good story, good villain, and then the end when the end credits roll with Black Sabbath, it's just awesome. You walk out of that movie saying, "Yeah," and then. Of course, we have the after credit scene, which starts the whole after credit scene thing. When Nick Fury says, "You're really cute." Let me tell you about the Avenger Project. So, in the Marvel Universe, Cinematic Universe is board. But anyway, unfortunately, this story is the weakest. Iron Man is put in here just because he had a successful movie, and he really doesn't matter that much to the story. But basically, the Fantastic Four and the Avengers and the X-Men are all teaming up against Kang and Kang, and in this universe, Kang beat his girlfriend too.
Jeez.
But then everybody starts disappearing. Everybody starts disappearing, and why? Well, we find out, and the Ghost Rider. The Ghost Rider disappears, which is his the way of getting him out of the story, so Iron Man can become the fourth member of the Fantastic Four. But basically, what we happened is, a certain purple guy has got all the 6 rubies in his glove, super glove, and he wipes out half the universe. The Fantastic Four, one, they don't know what's happened. But anyway, Adam Warlock, Doctor Strange, and the real Silver Surfer, not the one in the movies, folks, the real Silver Surfer, shows up, and they all say, well, you know what? But Thanos transport, and again, I'm just going over this real quickly because it doesn't make much sense in the story either. Thanos transports them all to his platform, talks about his devious plan, chuckling, and basically Thanos is not doing this because of eugenics or a shortage of resources. He's doing this for his old comic book motive to please Death, who has taken the form of a woman. And even Thanos is not immune to the charms of a woman, even one who is the personification of death. But that was Thanos' motive in the comics, to please Death. So anyway, so he, shows his diabolical hand, and he's going to kill everybody. But then Mephisto's there too, and Mephisto says, well, you don't really want to kill him because, and again, comic book logic, you're being too liberal with the gifts of death. You're not pleasing Death. And Thanos says, oh yeah, right. The old lady's kind of mad at me because I'm just willy-nilly killing, and I got to kind of stretch this killing thing out. So everybody goes back to Earth. Wolverine notices how easily Thanos can be manipulated. Well, the Fantastic Four and basically Adam Warlock says, okay, I got a plan to deal with Thanos. And the Thor goes, great, what is it? I can't tell you. Why not? Because if you know it, then Thanos will know it, and it's all screwed. So you come when I tell you to, and you do as I say you do. Well, the Fantastic Four, those personalities basically tell them to go take a hike. And what they do is they just happen to bring the armor of the dead Celestial with them.
As you do.
Yeah. Tony figures a way to jury rig it. And they go to fight Thanos, but it appears that Wolverine is turned on him and is cooperating with Thanos because he said, hey, Thanos can give me everything I want. I want Jean. Thanos can give me that. Stark, can you get me laid? So with a hot redhead, and
jeez.
Well, of course, the answer is no. Tony says, pimping ain't my job. So Wolverine appears to have turned on him. Anyway, the four, Tony jazzes up the suit. They go after Thanos again. And basically Wolverine has been setting Thanos up, and just to turn his back on Wolverine, and Wolverine slices his arm off with the gauntlet, and Wolverine gives the gauntlet to the one person he knows is responsible enough to use it. Wolverine and Hulk says, hey, that's a lot of power, a lot of temptation. And Wolverine gives it to the one guy who won't abuse it. And Spidey brings half the universe, the other half of the universe back. Thanos becomes a gardener, and I guess just finishes out his life farming and doesn't get his head cut off by Thor. Mary Jane comes back without one of her arms.
She's reassembling. She's transporting in on that one.
Yeah. One of the side effects of
By
this
the way-
actually is that Thanos separates Banner and the Hulk permanently. So
Real quick,
so
what is
Banner-
up with the face? What is up with the faces on these two? Good Lord.
yeah, this was kind of this kind of looks like this had a deadline, I guess.
Good
Um,
Lord.
But you know, Bruce decides to stay with the Watchers and study their great library of science and literature. The other the four go back to be the four on their Earth, you know, and everybody lives happily ever after. This, you know, you know, if you have a choice, if you have to leave out one, leave this one out. This is the worst of the bunch. It's not very good. It's not memorable. Doesn't have, other than, you know, Wolverine trusting Spider-Man, which shows that even though Spider-Man and Wolverine are not the best of friends, they do have a tremendous amount of respect for each other. And Wolverine respects, even though he doesn't understand it, he respects that Peter does the right thing. So that's the best moment of the story. But otherwise, this is a pretty unmemorable issue. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is January's What If. We'll see you again in 30 days.
Very nice. Real quick, Gary in the Frozen says, Spider history of the crawl space and just listening to JR's fun has got me through all kinds of tough times. Truly. So thank you, Gary in the Frozen.
No greater compliments have we received than being told that we, you know, we give people some joy and some fun when they need it.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, JR and I will be back in next month. Next month. See y'all in just a few on the
Maybe
next.
I'll even change my shirt. No, I won't.
No, you won't.